A lot of people think that Batman refuses to kill for some moral reason, but this is actually not the case at all. You see, originally Batman didn't really care about villains dying that much. In fact, he even fought with a gun to begin with in the comics. But then the comics committee was formed, and they said this was warping children, and so they introduced new guidelines for how comics should be written, as they believed that kids reading about Batman using a gun would make kids use guns in real life and then turn them into murderers. Which makes absolutely no sense, because we've all played Halo or Call of Duty or something, and we haven't all started gunning people down in the streets. In fact, all of the research done shows that people can tell the difference between real life and fantasy, and that playing violent video games actually lowers the chance of people being violent in real life, as it gives their violent tendencies an outlet. And the same is true of comics. Although do bear in mind, this committee also said that Batman and Robin were turning the children of America gay, because them hanging out together and fighting crime together was the reason that more homosexuals were popping up all over the country. Which is absolute nonsense. They were always gay, or straight. In reality, no comic has ever turned a person gay, or straight for that matter, because it's quite literally impossible. But still, DC made changes, and they introduced Batwoman and her sidekick to show that Batman and Robin had girlfriends, and therefore weren't gay, so they couldn't turn people gay, all of which is utterly ridiculous. But as time passed, the homosexual thing became less of an issue, but the guns, not so much. So the writers had to find a way to make sure Batman didn't use guns, and that he didn't want villains to die. And one of the writers actually came up with the best reason for Batman there is: his personal trauma of watching his parents die, something that is at the heart of his entire character. And that is the reason he doesn't want people to die. It has nothing to do with morals or logic, it's just his personal trauma. To put it simply, Batman watched his parents die, and whenever he sees a villain die, it reminds him of watching his parents' death, and he once again becomes that little boy in the alley, powerless to stop the inevitable. Now, this was actually attempted to be shown in the Batman vs Superman film, although they did do it very, very badly. You see, the whole "Save Martha" scene was aimed at this, the idea being that Batman realised he was no better than the man who killed his parents, as he was killing someone's son for little to no reason. And that is why when Superman says "Save Martha," Batman realises that he is acting just like Joe Chill, the last thing that he wants, and so he no longer wants to kill Superman. But even though they did it badly, they did still demonstrate the reason. Simply put, Batman is pathological when it comes to saving lives, because watching people die makes him relive the worst moment of his life, his parents' death. And remember, it's not about logic, this is an emotional reason. After all, it's logical to kill the Joker given the threat he represents. But the reason Batman doesn't is because his psyche is damaged, and that's why he can't accept killing anyone, even if it's in self-defense or necessary to save others. Yes, he has had to kill from time to time, but this was always the last option, and usually he did everything in his power to stop it, and still feels bad about it. You see, his trauma makes him see it in black and white. Either you kill everyone, or you kill no one. He's unable to see it any other way. Unless, of course, he one day deals with his trauma and learns to see the world in shades of grey. Because, as we all know, the world is nothing but shades of grey. After all, if a man murders his neighbour, he is a murderer and a monster. But a man kills someone on the battlefield, and he is a hero and given a medal. Because there are different situations in life where killing is not just the only option, but it actually becomes the right thing to do. It's all about context when we're talking about taking a life. But Batman cannot see it this way. He only sees it as, if you kill, then you are Joe Chill, the monster who killed his parents. Ironically, there are actually far, far worse fates than killing people. Batman has caused catastrophic head trauma over the years, and injuries that leave people with God alone knows how many broken bones. And I have no doubt that he has caused permanent physical damage to a lot of people. And living every day as a cripple in chronic pain can be much worse than a quick, painless death. Euthanasia does exist for a reason, after all. But that is the reason the Batman doesn't kill. It's not really for any moral reason, although he often sees it that way, and writers often portray it that way. But in reality, it's just lingering PTSD from his encounter with Joe Chill. Nothing more, nothing less. And until he deals with this trauma, he won't be able to move beyond it and see that in the right circumstances, some people do need to die. After all, if we had the power to go back in time and kill Hitler before the Second World War started, well, I doubt many people would let him live. I mean, it could potentially save 50 million lives after all. But what do you think? Do you agree with my reasoning? Or do you think there is another reason for Batman not killing? Or at least more to it than I've mentioned in this video? Please let us know in the comments, as this is very much a discussion video and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the subject. And I'd just like to quickly remind everyone that we have some merchandise available on our store, and to say thanks to all of you who have donated to the Needle Mouse Productions page on Patreon. And as always, thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.